Everyone, welcome to our info session today. I'm Diana Wren-Rapp, Associate Director of the Atlanta Global Studies Center, and we are pleased to host this information session on the Rangel and Pickering fellowships, and we'll learn more about those fellowships in just a moment with our guest speaker, Michael Veasy. And just a little bit about Atlanta Global Studies Center. Our center promotes global education and language learning opportunities for all students. And we hope that these opportunities will help our students become global citizens and prepared to work in diverse global contexts. So one of the things that we do is offer events and workshops and info sessions like these to help introduce possible career options for you students out there who are interested in global issues. So today our speaker is Mr. Michael Veasy. He serves as the Senior Advisor for Diplomatic Fellowships for the Charles B. Rangel International Affairs Program and the Thomas R. Pickering Foreign Affairs Program. He's had an extensive career in the Foreign Service, including many international assignments in Ethiopia, Mexico, South Africa, and I'm sure more. Mr. Veasy was a member of the first cohort of Pickering Fellows in 1992. So thank you for joining us today, Mr. Veasy. I'll let you do your introduction in just a minute. Students, as you're joining us, if you would just please put a little note in the chat about your major and anything interesting about yourself that you would like to share. And after Mr. Veasy's presentation, we will open it up to questions. All right, thank you, Mr. Veasy.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for joining, students. I'm Michael Veasy. As just previously mentioned, I spent a full career in the Foreign Service after becoming a Pickering Fellow. I went to school in Atlanta, Georgia, so I know Georgia State University very well, and I interned at the Carter Center before coming in. So that's a little bit about, my progression into the State Department. While I was at the State Department, I worked in, if you're familiar with our 5 career tracks, the different areas in which you can become a U.S. diplomat, I've actually worked in all 5 and almost every geographic region. So had an amazing career, and I recently retired and moved over to Howard University to help manage our fellowship programs. And I'll talk about not only the Pickering and Rangel programs, which right now we're accepting applications, and we're about a month away from those deadlines. So any questions that you might have about those specific fellowships, please ask away. We're running out of time there. I'll also talk about USAID. USAID has a similar program called the Payne Fellowship, which is a graduate fellowship that pays for grad school and then launches you into a career with USAID. So we'll cover that in a little bit more. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay, let me know that you can see. Okay, is everybody okay? You can see my presentation. Yes. Okay, great. I got a thumbs up. All right, so we're going to talk about the fellowships for those who are interested in careers in the Foreign Service. And I will say that these fellowships that I'm talking about are not just graduate fellowships. They are essentially, if you win them, it's a job with the federal government. All right. So we're gonna talk a little bit about what the Foreign Service is first, and Diana's already mentioned a couple of things that I've done, and I've done many of these things that are listed in this slide. We promote peace, security, prosperity, and freedom, and respect for human rights and gender equality. And religious freedom overseas. We help Americans in distress. So, when we were moving out of Afghanistan and the Haiti earthquake had hit, We were on the ground helping Americans evacuate. I know many people know about the Brittany Griner situation. That's something that I specialized in terms of assisting Americans who have been detained overseas, or Americans in any type of either personal or national or global crisis. We promote human rights. We combat trafficking in persons. We have tons of people who are interested in management and business who manage our embassy operations, our consulates overseas. We promote dialogue and exchanges and answer press questions. So those folks that are interested in journalism and communications, there's certainly a place for them. And we facilitate international trade. We promote U.S. businesses overseas. So if economics is sort of your route, it's something that you can obviously do at any one of our 270 posts around the world. All right, let's start with the Charles B. Rangel International Program. This program is broken up into two parts. The Graduate Fellowship, which, as I said, the applications are open right now. The deadline is fast approaching, September 29th. And then we have the Summer Enrichment Program. So the Graduate Fellowship is specifically looking for students who are graduating this year. So we're talking about seniors or individuals who have already finished their bachelor's degree. Whereas the Summer Enrichment Program is seeking out students who have at least Southport status, but are not graduating, this year. So with the Summer Enrichment Program, it provides undergraduate students, mainly Southports and juniors, a deeper understanding of current issues and career opportunities in international affairs. We will fly you up to Howard University, and this is where you'll stay for a 6-week intensive program in terms of skills training. We will obviously introduce you to the sort of universe of international affairs, at least as they exist in Washington, D.C. So we're talking about think tanks, we're the foreign affairs folks on the Hill, State Department, CIA, other foreign affairs agencies, the business community, the NGO community. During that time, we will provide courses and skills trainings and seminars and help you build your network. And during that time, like I said, we'll fly you up, we will pay for your housing in DC, and then we will provide you with a stipend of $3,300. To be a part of the Summer Enrichment Program or to apply, you must be a U.S. citizen, have a cumulative GPA of 3.2, and at least sophomore status. All right, let's move over to the Charles B. Rangel International Affairs Graduate Fellowship. Like I said, we're running short on time to apply. So if you're thinking about it, certainly ask questions now. I want to help you move through this process. So the program offers $106,000 in funding over 2 years for your graduate program. We're talking tuition, fees, living expenses. Summer internships are paid. And when we talk about a graduate program, it has to be relevant to the Foreign Service. Relevance to the Foreign Service is pretty broad. As we just went through, we're talking about business majors, so get your MBA. You can do that with this fellowship. If you want to go into public health, a master's in public health, or communications or journalism. So if you're thinking, if you're thinking beyond a master's in international affairs or security studies, you could likely make a case that what you're seeking is relevant to the Foreign Service. You'll still have to make that case though. So $106,000 toward that. And our graduate school partners, we have a ton of partners out there as far as I'm sorry, there's a little bit of noise outside, but we have a collection of partners that are part of the Association of Professional Schools and International Affairs. We're talking Georgetown, Columbia, Harvard, Tufts University, SAIS, many of the international affairs schools on the East Coast, but we're also branching out west, University of Texas, Stanford and Berkeley, University of Denver, University of Michigan. So there are some top schools that are all competing for our fellows, and most of them provide funding in addition to what we provide. Very few of our fellows leave their master's program with any kind of student debt. So the Charles B. Rangel International Affairs program also offers an orientation. So you win the fellowship and you move that summer into an orientation where we get you sort of oriented to not only what you're going to see over the next 2 years as a fellow, but your State Department career. You would immediately move into a 10-week internship on Capitol Hill with a member of Congress or a committee focused on foreign affairs. You'll go back to you'll start your grad program that next fall, and then the summer between your 2-year grad program, we'll send you on a 10-week internship overseas at an embassy or consulate. During this time, we'll provide mentorship. Each fellow receives 2 mentors, one a senior mentor and another a mentor from the Rangel program. And then after you finish your master's, you come into the State Department, into our orientation class, and become a U.S. diplomat with a 5-year service obligation. I know that was a lot. I won't end up having to repeat this for the Pickering program because it's almost exactly the same. So the eligibility requirements for Rangel, U.S. citizenship, cumulative 3.2 GPA, and intent to enroll in a 2-year master's program in the fall of 2023. Again, this is the breakdown of the numbers, but 106,000 over 2 years. And as I said, some graduate programs will provide supplemental financial assistance. So your obligations in terms of what you need to do once you win this fellowship, you obviously have to clear your medical and security and suitability clearances with the State Department. Once you get in, you have to maintain that 3.2 GPA and certainly the 5-year service obligation once you come into the foreign service. So I said the 29th of September. Rangel is first this year. It's the 22nd of September. So Pickering will be a week later. So the timeline is the 22nd of September. So we're talking 3 weeks now, right? To get your applications in. We will notify the 90 finalists before November 1st, and then we'll have interviews the 16th and 17th of November. The selections will be made on the 18th, so you'll find out right away, and then orientation will be that May. As soon as you find out that you've been selected, we will start working with you on those grad school applications. All right, just to give you a couple, I think we have a couple of slides with fellows, current fellows right now. We have fellows who are coming from just about everywhere. I know we have Georgia State alum who are fellows and are doing quite well in the foreign service through the program and into the foreign service. But Zerlina was a 2019 fellow who just came into the State Department in 2021 and is now off to her first assignment. I'm trying to think of where she is. I can't remember, but she is just now moving into her first assignment. So the congressional internship takes place right after orientation, as I mentioned. Many Rangel fellows choose to work with their member of Congress, which you can, or they work with a leadership. We had a number of people in Pelosi's office. We've had a number of people in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So many of our fellows tend to be in the places where foreign policy, where Homeland Security, ways and means and appropriations are being handled. We've gone through much of this in terms of graduate school. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. Like I said, if you're majoring in something that's outside of political science and international affairs, and you're curious whether or not your master's program might qualify for this fellowship, just ask. Many times it does. All right. We talked about the overseas internship, 10 weeks overseas working, usually in a function that you have interest in. So what we usually do is once you win the fellowship, we'll ask you a lot of questions about where your interests lie. You can change them over those 2 years. We're not going to lock you in, but we get a good sense of what you might want to do, where you might want to go, and we try to match you accordingly with that overseas internship. And then joining the Foreign Service, once you complete your master's degree and complete all the service requirements, you come in within a week of orientation. We have what's called, we go through a process of allowing you to bid on, available assignments. And then shortly after that is Flag Day, where people find out where they're going for their first assignment. Really exciting day. And the folks at the fellowship programs at Howard always participate in Flag Day in terms of being there when people actually get their first assignment. How to apply. So if you go on to rangelprogram.org, you could click apply, and it will you could start your application process. The cornerstone of the application is your personal statement, your statement of interest. This is not a place where you necessarily are just, just writing, going through your resume. This is where we want to know about you. What has motivated you to be interested in the things you're interested in, to, pursue a career in international affairs and hopefully the Foreign Service? What are those things in your background that have brought you here? What's unique about you? When I was serving on the selection committee back in 2019, actually, when Zerlina was awarded, what I looked for was I wanted to find people who would sit around that foreign policy table with me, who brought a diverse voice, a diverse perspective, not the same perspectives that we've been seeing for years and years, but brought something new to the table. So, so you definitely want to weave in however you consider yourself being a diverse voice or having a diverse perspective, whether it's through your ethnicity, through your through gender or sexual orientation or regional, where you're from, whether you're a first generation American. I mean, there are a lot of markers that people have in terms of what makes them, different than other, than maybe other voices or the normal voices we hear in foreign policy. Whatever those things are, bring them out here in your personal statement and talk about how those have shaped you in terms of your interests and what you hope to do in your career. You definitely want to have a statement of financial need. If you haven't received a Pell Grant or you don't consider yourself having much financial need, don't worry. We have plenty of fellows who have been able to overcome the lack of financial need. But I will say you want to make a statement of, in terms of how difficult it would be for you to pursue your master's degree without this fellowship or without funding. You want to make that statement. You want to have two letters of, you need to have 2 letters of recommendation. And these recommenders should be focused on, on connecting you to the goals of the program and the Foreign Service. So definitely have a conversation with your recommenders in terms of what you're applying for. Don't let them write a cookie cutter recommendation where they're just plopping in your name to recommendations that they've written in the past. This is very specific. One of the things that they could do and that you should do as well is go on to careers.state.gov and look at the 13 dimensions. And these are the dimensions in which we look for in foreign service officers. This is how our selection committee will be evaluating applications. So you want to weave those 13 dimensions in your personal statement, and you want your recommenders to weave those into their recommendations. You'll need proof of U.S. citizenship. Your SAR, you'll have to have your FAFSA done, and we'll need a student aid report. Definitely all your transcripts from whatever universities that you've attended. GRE and GMAT scores are optional. If you did particularly well on a GRE or GMAT, certainly share them. If you want it to be a basis of, this is why I want to be an economics officer, and look how well I scored, on the analytical part of the GRE. That's how you would use the GRE scores. Otherwise, they're completely optional. Most students don't provide them, and that's fine. And then all of the application components must be received by, it should say September 22nd here. So Rangel is first, September 22nd. All right. Let's go over to Thomas, our Pickering Foreign Affairs Fellowship Program. Many of the things about the Pickering program are exactly the same. So I'm not going to go through everything. The Pickering Award has increased to $106,000 as well, and this is just broken down a little bit for you. It's I believe it is $42,000 for funding each year, and that we're just talking about tuition. We're not talking about the stipends and everything else that would bring you up to the 106, but it's $42,000 each year for tuition and fees and living expenses. And like I said, our graduate school partners usually supplement that amount if need be. Here's the difference between the Pickering program and the Rangel program. Where Rangel, the internships are on Capitol Hill. Pickering, the domestic internship. Pickering, the domestic internship is within the State Department. Also, Pickering starts a summer after Rangel. So with Rangel, you will have your Capitol Hill internship the summer after you win the award. For Pickering, you will have your domestic internship the summer between your first and second year of grad school. So that first summer is yours to do whatever you want to do with. You can do a Fulbright, you can do, you can intern, you can go to Carter Center, you can, do whatever. So you have that first summer free. Between your first 2 years of your 2-year grad program, you'll have your domestic internship at the State Department. And then after you finish your master's, then you'll have another 10-week internship overseas. Once you complete that 10-week internship overseas, you'll have maybe about a month or two break before you enter into the A100, the orientation class for the Foreign Service. Outside of that, everything is exactly like Rangel. Okay, this is a breakdown. This is what I was talking about. Pickering breaks down their numbers a little bit different, but believe me, it adds up to $106,000 over 2 years. All right, eligibility requirements, exactly the same as Rangel. U.S. citizenship 3.2 GPA, and seeking enrollment into a 2-year master's program in the fall of 2023. And we always talk about in a field of study relevant to the Foreign Service. Okay, fellowship timeline. Let me see if they got this correct. I've got to update these slides because we're working off of last year's information. All right, some of it is last year's. So the application opens, is already open. Application closes for Pickering on the 29th, not the 22nd. And to be certain, you should hand them both in on the 22nd. They're exactly the same applications. But Pickering is the 29th. Pickering will go second this year. They flip-flop every year. That's why the dates are always confusing. Pickering will select its finalists a week. You saw with Rangel, November 1st is when they plan to select their 90 finalists. Pickering will be November 10th, so roughly a week after. They will interview those finalists toward the end of the first week of December. After Rangel has already selected theirs, Pickering will start their process in selecting theirs. The 45 fellows will be selected by December 13th, and then orientation will be, we will do Pickering orientation that first summer, but then the rest of the summer is yours. Right. Again, everything on this slide in terms of obligations are exactly like the Rangel program. Okay, graduate school. We've already mentioned fields of relevance, and we can talk a little bit about that. You must maintain your 3.2 GPA throughout graduate school. The domestic internship will be 10 weeks, again, between the first and second year of graduate school. And we will work with you in terms of identifying the right State Department office for you. And during that time, we will run a summer writing program, and we'll do a number of networking events while you're in Washington. The overseas internship, just like Rangel, 10 weeks overseas, and we'll definitely take into consideration your career or cone interest and your regional interest. Okay, let's go to Donald Payne very quickly. Donald and Payne was what I was talking about with regard to USAID. Very similar to Pickering and Rangel in terms of the makeup, how the fellowship works. It's a different award amount, and USAID foreign service officers are more, where state is more policy, USAID is more program oriented. So, we're really looking for people who are interested in development work, and not only development work, but working with local organizations in terms of delivering projects and programs. And these are all the different areas that you could seek coming into the Payne program, from health to agriculture to education to crisis and stabilization and population programs. And these are the common degrees that you could pursue as a part of the Payne program. So it's a graduate fellowship, and USAID will pay for your graduate program. And most of the individuals who win this award go into one of these fields. If you have a development field that's not one of these, you ask the question. Certainly reach out to paynefellows., at howard.edu and ask that question whether or not that would apply. The award is $96,000, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to increase because traditionally USAID has offered their fellows a little bit more than the State Department in terms of this fellowship. Again, Payne is very similar to Rangel in that you will have a Capitol Hill internship and an overseas internship, but it's on the same timeline as the Rangel program. Now, the Payne fellowship application process just opened about a week ago. Their application deadline is November 4th. They are going to make their selections of finalists in December 2022, and they're going to hold their interviews in early January 2023. The only thing that I caution here is understand that, that the expectation is you enter into grad school in the fall of 2023. Graduate school applications, their deadlines are usually at the end of January or early February, but most of them are in January. So you're going to be finding out that you've won the Payne probably 2 weeks before the application deadline for grad school. So you're going to have to be working on your graduate school applications without knowing whether or not you've you've actually won the award. I will tell you that if you become a finalist, you have a 50-50 chance of winning the award. So I would definitely, if you become a finalist, I would definitely work on those grad school applications if you don't do it before. Same eligibility requirements. Okay, the FAST program, which is our newest program with the Agricultural Service. I will admit that this is very new to all of us, and we're still hiring folks to come on board to help manage the FAST program. There are fewer fellows here. They are modeled, the FAST Diversity Fellowship Program is modeled like the other fellowships, but fewer, I believe only 9 awards per year at this stage. If you do want more information about it, certainly come to our website, and we're building that information as we speak. Okay, the FAST Diversity Fellowship Program overview, same award as Pickering and Rangel, same internships, although the domestic internship is with the Foreign Agricultural Service in Washington. You do a 10-week internship overseas, but only in locations where there's Foreign Agricultural Service. So it's not going to be at 270 posts around the world that we have to choose from. It's going to be at a smaller number, but Foreign Agricultural Services in a lot of places, you'll be surprised. And we have the similar mentorship program and a similar service obligation. All right, timeline. So the timeline on this is I believe we're still trying to work out the information, but like I said, visit our website. We're expecting it's going to be early October in terms of the application closing. I haven't checked to see if the application is open yet. I believe it might be. Finalists will be selected in late October, and the selections. It's 4 fellows, not 9. 4 fellows. And the 4 fellows will be selected in November 2022. But definitely go to our website, ask a lot of questions if you're interested in agricultural service. Again, we talked about crafting a competitive application. I've already gone through the letters of recommendation, the statement of interest, demonstrate academic ability. Certainly don't be shy about your work experience, your awards, honors and awards. Those are all relevant to this process. Here are all of the websites, the email addresses. Please, please reach out to us if you have additional questions. And at this stage, I can move on to whatever questions you guys might have. I'll leave this up. All right.
Michael, I'm going to go back up to the chat. At the beginning of the presentation, we had a question about age limit. Is there an age limit for this program or any of these programs?
Okay, so the only age limits that exist are the ones that each foreign service has. So I believe it's 55. If yeah, that's what the age limit would be for these programs. So, as a matter of fact, more and more of our fellows, when I won the fellowship, we were all seniors. Well, we weren't even seniors. This fellowship used to target sophomores in undergrad. So when I won it, I was a sophomore in undergrad. They paid for my last 2 years of undergrad and then my grad school. Since then, it's become graduate school programs. And when we started out, we were almost exclusively seniors, looking at seniors going to grad school. Now, many of our fellows who win this award have been out of undergrad for a couple of years before applying to the fellowships. So it's not uncommon that we'll see someone in their mid-20s or 30s looking at these fellowships.
And there are also some questions about if they already have a master's degree, can they still apply and start a new 2-year master's degree program?
Yes, yes, you can. What you can't do is, what we won't do is we will not, if you've started, like, let's say you're in your first year of your master's program, we won't, you can't use that master's program for this program. You'll either have to drop out of that, that program that you're already in, or finish it and then start a new 2-year master's program. So yes, if you want to start a new 2-year master's program, you can absolutely apply. My suggestion is, because when I look at cases, when I was looking at situations where someone was looking at a second master's, I want to know, why. You're going to, that's the obvious question. Why are you pursuing the second master's? And many times it's for a very good reason. Well, I got a master's in this area, which is part of what I want to do. But I think that, this particular field will complement, what it is that, what it is I hope to do. And and it would really work together. This is why I'm pursuing the second master's. That makes sense. What would worry me if someone wanted to pursue a master's in a very similar field, like someone gets a master's in security studies and then wants to get a master's in international affairs. I mean, they're very similar. It wouldn't make sense.
Thank you. And all of you out there, please write your questions in the chat if you have any. Michael, you've probably looked at a lot of applications over the years. Are there any mistakes to avoid?
Yeah. Okay. The first thing, and I don't know if this is on the slide. I usually put this on there, but proofread, proofread, proofread. I mean, I can't say that enough. Foreign service officers are allergic to bad grammar, just allergic to it. Just have other people proofread your stuff. If you by chance get to see the recommendations, even though it's not your fault if your recommender makes some mistakes on the recommendations, but if they let you see it, proofread, their statements and just kindly say, I saw this. Can you just correct it, even if it's minor? Believe me. Definitely apply for both programs, but when you're applying for both programs, please change the language from Rangel to Pickering, because it's very easy to, you want to, and I encourage you to use the same, essays and things like that, but make sure all the language is changed, because you'll have, I'm looking at Pickering applications, and it can be distracting when you see a couple of areas where Rangel is slipped into the language, and it just, it says something about attention to detail, right? We try not to hold it against you too much, but when the competition is stiff, you don't want things like that to sidetrack the person who's looking at your application. I would say focus on those 13 dimensions. You don't have to say, well, this is how I demonstrated leadership or composure, but you want to work those themes into everything in your application. Don't underestimate how powerful it is to be able to work those themes into your personal statement, into recommendations. It's huge. All right. Overcoming obstacles. When we talk about, one of the fellows mentioned this during an information session I recently did. He said there's really 14 dimensions. The 14th dimension is resilience. Showing, for whatever reason, our panels love stories about overcoming obstacles, or, so if that's you, if there's something in your background where you've had to overcome an obstacle that informs us who you are, use it. Absolutely. Any other don'ts? I think the one thing you don't want to do is treat your personal statement like a resume. I mean, there are a lot of people who are going to have international experience. There are a lot of people who are going to have done Fulbrights and internships and everything else. It's not the fact that you did them. Add context to what it is you did, why is it important, and how has that shaped you? Those are the things that we're looking at. Also, there are going to be there are some students who or applicants who feel like they're at a disadvantage because they don't have a lot of international experience. That they don't worry about that. This is at the core, it's a public service fellowship, right? So, whatever community service that you've done, whatever interactions that you've had from a cultural standpoint in your communities domestically is very relevant. We love to see individuals who come to us and say, hey, I'm not going to have, I don't have all these Fulbrights and everything else, but these are the things that I've done, that sort of shape my interest in the world. And I tell you, the reason that's important is because this fellowship is about, it is about opening doors to underserved individuals. So people who would not necessarily have a pathway into the State Department. If you've been doing State Department internships and Fulbrights and things like that, maybe you have an easier time getting into the State Department through the normal exam process than someone who is just as stellar, who may not have been able to travel because of financial reasons or things like that. We would absolutely pick up that person probably first, if all things being equal. So don't underestimate the power of what you've done domestically.
Those are great tips. Thanks, Michael. And I'm going to call on Josh Fief. He had his hand up, and he is a current Pickering fellow.
Hello. Hey, Michael. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm Josh Fife. Like I mentioned in the chat, I'm a 2021 Pickering fellow, and I graduated from Georgia State in 2019. So there's about 5 or 6 other fellows that I know that are at various stages. Definitely everything Michael said was right on. I was one of those that didn't have a lot of foreign affairs experience and sort of almost selected myself out of the process. But my great advisors at Georgia State sort of encouraged me to focus on what sets you apart. And that obviously landed me here. So I'm currently studying at Columbia, going into my last year of my graduate program. Thank you. And just finished my DC internship, so I could also speak on that. And then I know various fellows at different points in the process. So I'm here as a resource, definitely happy to help anyone who's interested in applying, answer any questions about any of the fellowships. And I'll leave my email in the chat so you guys can reach out. I have to run actually to a Columbia orientation event right now. So I'm going to leave, but just wanted to introduce myself and say, happy to help anyone who's interested in these great programs. It really is a life-changing program. The day that I got in, nothing has been the same. So definitely encourage you all to go for it, to try. And if you don't get it, I know several fellows who reapplied the second or third time and ended up getting it. So hang in there. And thanks to you, Michael. I appreciate you coming. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Had I known you were here, I would have stopped talking long ago and turned it over to you.
Yeah, I had a limited little time, so I knew I had to just at least see how it's going. But you did great. You covered it all. So yeah, like I said, you guys all feel free to reach out to me, and there's my email there.
Thanks, Josh. All right, we still have about 16 minutes. So are there any other questions? Michael, I don't know if you want to illuminate. Some of these students out here might, may not know yet what graduate program they are interested in. but you said that you provide some advising on graduate programs after the application.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once immediately after the fellows are selected, we're working with them on where they want to go, to school, what types of programs are out there, what their interests are. And I mean, I've worked with fellows who have wanted to do everything from a master's in social work to public health and security studies and business administration, communication. So hopefully they can first narrow down what is it that I want to study. And we will definitely work with them on some of the best programs, the options out there. I mean, traditionally, a lot of people have spent their time in the Beltway, in the East Coast in terms of grad programs. But I'm really happy to see many more of our fellows branch out to other programs. In the Southeast, we have a few fellows in the Southeast now who are doing graduate programs. Out West, so we're doing a better job of getting them at least thinking about other options outside of DC and New York and Boston. But I will say, there's something going on with, I'm sorry about my voice. There's something going on with some of our graduate school partners in terms of the level of competition they have with one another as it pertains to our fellows. 2 years ago, Harvard took half of probably about 50% of our fellows last year. And last year there was a little bit of a bidding war, and a ton of our fellows ended up at Georgetown. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I do know that there's a lot of competition, which means that fellows not only end up getting that full ride, through grad school, but just recently, a number of fellows are getting stipends on top of that from the universities. So not only our housing stipend, but theirs as well. So let them fight it out. It's a great, it's great to see that we're bringing in that type of talent.
Absolutely. That's so exciting. All right. Other questions? You can raise your hand or you can type your question in the chat.
Is there anyone on the call that's thinking about applying this year? You can write it in the chat. If you are, I would just say that that we're doing a lot of events to help people, shape their application between now and mid-September. And if you go on, particularly the Rangel program.org, and go to events, but you go to all of them, all of the websites, and go to events, and you'll see something going on almost every day. I know I have one on Friday. I've been working with a group of students who have come to me very early, and they're about 10 to 15 of us, and we just do a deep dive on their applications. And I can't read their applications, obviously, but if they ask, as they ask questions, I can sort of help them along with through the process. Many of us do one-on-ones, and there's a Calendly schedule on the website where you could sign up for one-on-ones to talk specifically about your application. So the resources are out there.
That's great advice. I also put in the chat earlier that Georgia State University has a writing studio, and there are graduate students there who will help you with your personal statement. So if you check out that website, you can book an appointment with them. And I would advise that students first, write their first draft and then bring it to the advisors at the writing studio to get some feedback. Well, I'll give it another minute, another couple minutes. If you have a question, this is your chance to get some personal advice about your application. All right. Anyone? Michael, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Let's see. I see a question from Jima. Any of these programs, are they open to international students?
Unfortunately, they are not. Because it's a pathway to a job with the U.S. government as a U.S. diplomat, they're only open to the U.S. citizens.
And permanent residents or no?
No.
Not even, okay.
No.
Great.
I will say we have a large number of applications from first-generation Americans, and they've done quite well through this process, but you must be a U.S. citizen.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for this presentation. And I will, after this session is over, I will save the presentation and share it on our website. So if there are, if you know other people who are interested in learning about these fellowships, you can share it with them as well. Michael, thank you so much for your time today. And if any of you all have questions about these programs, please send Michael an email or check out the websites for the Pickering and Rangel and Payne programs. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.